Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Saturday, April 22nd, the final Saturday before the 2023 NFL Draft kicks off on Thursday, April 27th. Your Jacksonville Jaguars, they hold the 24th overall pick. This is it. It is now time for me to go ahead and bang the table for who I think the Jaguars should make that pick at 24, and I think it's Brian Branch, the nickel prospect out of Alabama. We're going to go ahead and talk about why, but I think Brian Branch would be an incredible value for the Jaguars. I think nickel/middle of the field defense, when you look back at the Jaguars' 2022 deficiencies on that side of the ball, that was their biggest weakness in coverage. You can definitely point to the nickel position. There's also some missed assignments at safety, at linebacker as well. But I think when you look back at it, the biggest issue moving forward is certainly nickel for the Jaguars on the defensive side of the ball, especially on the back end. They've done absolutely nothing to address that besides bringing back Trey Herndon, who is the player that the Jaguars had in the nickel last year that struggled to get things going, struggled to lock down that middle of the field. So you go get Brian Branch and help change that weakness into a strength. And there's a lot of different layers to this. We'll go ahead and dive into it. For a while, it looked like the Jaguars would have no chance to land Brian Branch at 24 overall. He is widely considered the top nickel/safety in this class, and for good reason. But with a slower 40-yard dash at 4.58 seconds than some expected, Branch is slipping down some boards, at least in the media. Doesn't matter where you look right now, right? Whether it's at ESPN, NFL Network, wherever you're reading your mock drafts, these experts have Brian Branch almost 100% of the time sliding past 24th overall, sliding sometimes into the second round. For the life of me, I can't figure out why when you pop on the tape and dive into who this kid is. He's a star in the making, and he is clearly the best nickel prospect in this class for me. Diving into the evaluation part of this. He's a former 4-star recruit. He's just 21 years old. You like the pedigree. You like the youth, right? Starting with the run game, he is super physical. Coming downhill, he takes good angles in pursuit. He'll sometimes fight through much bigger blockers. I mean, you see him sometimes taking on tight ends, sometimes offensive linemen, and being able to disengage and get to the football. And when he does get to the football, he simply does not miss. His career missed tackle percentage on 172 career tackles over 3 seasons is just 2.3%. That's unheard of. 4 missed tackles his entire college career. You want to comp that to some of the other top safety/nickel prospects in this class. Antonio Johnson at Texas A&M, 11.6% missed tackles. Sidney Brown, Illinois, safety, who a lot of people are fired up about, missed 17.8% of his tackles. Clark Phillips, corner who played outside for Utah primarily, but projects more as an inside slot defender at the next level. 17% missed tackles. Cam Smith out of South Carolina has the versatility to play inside and outside. 16.3% missed tackle rate. The only guy among the top prospects in this class that really holds a candle over the last couple years when it comes to not missing tackles is Jartavius Quan Martin out of Illinois, Sidney Brown's teammate. And over the last 2 seasons, he's been right at around 5% in his missed tackle rate. But even that is still not even that close to Brian Branch's level of efficiency when it comes to getting guys to the ground. And you talk about what the Jaguars have. Again, Trey Herndon projects to be their top nickel right now. His missed tackle percentage was over 11% last year and over 15% for his career. So you lock up the short and intermediate middle of the field, and you do it with Brian Branch, who always takes the right angle, always gets his guy to the ground. I think it's just a match made in heaven from that perspective. The Jaguars, they struggled in the tackling department last year. Whether it was Trey Herndon, you saw Rayshon Jenkins miss a lot of tackles, you saw some linebackers miss some tackles. I think you get Brian Branch in here, and you start to turn that weakness, which was tackling, especially over the middle of the field, preventing teams from avoiding a tackle and then getting a first down, picking up some chunk yardage. Not allowing teams to do that in the future would be huge, and Brian Branch would go a long way towards helping you do that. He's going to help elevate you from a team that is among the league leaders in missed tackles to a team that you can feel comfortable with getting their guys to the ground. In the passing game, he has incredible awareness and IQ for what he's supposed to be doing, what his teammates are doing around him, and how teams are trying to exploit their coverages. He seemingly knows the offensive play more often than not when you watch this guy. He just has incredible recognition, IQ, and processing to stack all those things together and be a disruptive force. He has super quick feet and explosive movements. That combined with his technique and his awareness, again, that allows him to be sticky in man coverage and very disruptive in zone coverage. So I think whether the Jaguars want to be more of a man blitz team on third down or a fire zone team on third down or a mixture of both, Brian Branch is going to help you achieve your goals there. He's not super fast, right? And in terms of downfield speed, the 4.58 40, not a lot of people love that. But his 10 split, it is really good at 1.56, and he tested as an explosive athlete. So you have that explosiveness, you have that quickness off the line. I think those things really show up in Brian Branch's films. Again, his instincts in coverage, they rarely fail him, and when they do, he can usually make up for it with his quickness to recover and his explosive movements in coverage. He can also play a more traditional safety role for you. And he can also play as an overhang player that can blitz or drop in coverage. He excels as a blitzer. 3 sacks for the Alabama Crimson Tide in 2022. There are just so many different ways that Mike Caldwell can deploy Brian Branch, and so many ways that he would help this football team, not just from the nickel spot, but being able to do a lot of different things for you. He is that defensive chess piece whose primary home will be in the slot at nickel. But don't make any mistake about it. This is a guy that can do a lot more for you than that. And you can do mental gymnastics about potential value and depth in the draft, but the bottom line for me, Brian Branch is the best prospect at what he does in this draft. When you can get the top player at any position, even nickel, in the back end of the first round, and it's your biggest position of need, you just do it. You just pull the trigger on that one. And your Jaguars, they value high character guys. This is a guy that took ownership of the star position at a young age at Alabama. Nick Saban has raved about his development. This is the type of prospect you want to bring in, not only from a on-field perspective, but from a character perspective. Again, the Jaguars, their beliefs in bringing in character players, it's not going anywhere. So Brian Branch, he fits in that regard as well. It just makes too much sense for me. Now, the Jaguars, they have shown special interest in Brian Branch, right? They sent cornerback coach and pass game coordinator Deshae Townsend to his pro day, and they had a little one-on-one workout after his pro day workout. So if he's there at 24, do not be surprised if Brian Branch is the pick for the Jaguars. He would be for me. He's a top 10 overall prospect on my board. He's changing a weakness for the Jaguars into a strength, so it would be an easy pick for me. Now, not to say that this is the only direction that the Jaguars can go and achieve a positive result. I just personally think from a process-driven standpoint, if Brian Branch is there, he's your best pick. He's a top 10 prospect in this class. He is the number 1 nickel player in this class. He fills your biggest need on the defensive side of the ball. You want somebody that's going to help you try to slow down offensive passing attacks in the middle of the field, slow down Travis Kelce, and be able to help you lock down your tackling in the intermediate and shallow portions of the field. I think it's Brian Branch all day. But again, that doesn't mean he's the only one that can be a good pick for the Jaguars, right? You do have Osiris Torrance who would help lock down the middle of that offensive line, which is where, if you're Trevor Lawrence, you're really good at avoiding edge pressure. You're really good at sensing if your offensive tackle is getting beat and being able to step up into the pocket, right? But if there's no pocket to step up into, you're in big trouble. And if you have an interior offensive lineman getting beaten off the jump, you're in trouble. And so Cyrus Torrence does make sense. He never allowed a sack in college, right? I think Anton Harrison could make sense for you as well, right? The offensive tackle out of Oklahoma, another really young prospect, another guy who I think has tremendous upside. Don't think he's quite as refined as a prospect as an Osiris Torrence or a Brian Branch, but plenty of upside. Could bring in a tackle to make sure you're fortified at that spot make sense? Absolutely. Bringing in an edge could make sense as well, whether it's Nolan Smith falling or Miles Murphy. I think they're both unlikely to make it to the Jaguars. But what I'm trying to share here is the Jaguars, they don't have to draft Brian Branch for this to be a successful pick at 24 overall. But I think it's clearly the best pick that the Jaguars could make. Again, from a process standpoint, leading up to the draft, Brian Branch, best nickel player in the draft, top 10 overall prospect for me and for many. And he's fulfilling your greatest need on the defensive side of the ball, probably on your entire team, to be quite frank. But again, Brian Branch, perfect combo of need and value. If you're the Jaguars, if you're Trent Baalke, go get this man. Go get him, bring him into Duval. Change that weakness at nickel into a strength and prosper. I think it's going to help your defense out a lot. I think it's going to help your offense feel a little bit less pressure when they have to get on the field. That'll do it, though. Again, Brian Branch, he is the guy I would pick if I was running things for the Jaguars at 24 overall. I think he should be the pick, and I think he has a very good chance of being the pick. The Jaguars mentioned that they have 2 or 3 guys at the top of their board they think could be there at 24 overall. I think Brian Branch should be at the top of that list. Again, they showed special interest going out to his pro day, having a one-on-one workout. Do not be surprised if Thursday night Brian Branch is a Jacksonville Jaguar after that 24th overall pick comes off the board. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. Let me know what you think about Brian Branch coming to Jacksonville. You can also follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. If you're on your podcast platform of choice, please subscribe and review. Thank you so much, Duval. Have a great weekend.